What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikiPikaPapa, and it is Sunday Fun Day, which can only mean today we're going to be looking at the cards that have been moving and shaking the most on TCGPlayer over the last week. And I love this video series. I think it is so much fun. We always end up highlighting some amazing cards. Sometimes we get big name Pokemon. Sometimes we get older generations. Sometimes we just have fantastic artwork that we get to look at. And today is a combination of all of the above, which is one of the reasons I'm so pumped up. And the other thing I like about this is straight from TCGPlayer. Like, this isn't me going and looking for information. TCGPlayer sends this information out, and they are one of the biggest buying and selling platforms for Pokemon cards. So whenever they give us a peek behind the curtains and they say, hey, you need to pay attention to this, for me that indicates, hey, this is an idea of what's happening at the macro level of the hobby. Now, I will say this, for the last 3 or 4 weeks, this list has been inundated with cards that I would say have a fantastic degree of artwork and uniqueness to them. And I think that is fantastic because that's what makes this hobby so great. But if you were to look at the names of the Pokemon that are on these cards with fantastic artwork, if you were to stack rank all the Pokemons in popularity from number 1 and number 2, which is Charizard and Pikachu, all the way down to the very last Pokemon, I think some of the names that we've seen probably wouldn't be in the top 30 or 40. And so that's just because the market right now, I feel like, has a very big supply gap versus the demand, and that is what drives prices in the Pokemon hobby, right? Supply and demand. I mean, you can't find any Scarlet and Violet Pokemon product anywhere. It doesn't matter what local card shop you're going into. It doesn't matter if you're going into GameStop, Target, Walmart. Like, the shelves are bare. So we have this big gap in supply and this huge all-time high level of demand. So we're seeing a lot of these cards, which maybe in years past would have stayed in the $5, $10, $15 range. Now we're seeing a lot of them hit $30, $40, $50, and we're going to see some examples of that today. And listen, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I don't know if these cards are going to hold their value because of that supply and demand gap. I don't know if there's going to be a correction in the market. I don't know if they're maybe going to continue to go up forever. But all I know is we're going to talk about them today. We're going to see a couple things. The first card we're going to look at is one of my favorite investment level cards from the Scarlet and Violet era as a whole. So I'm super pumped that we're finally starting to see at least one investment level card back on this list again. That gets me really, really excited. And the other thing we're going to see is 2 examples of each. We're going to see 2 examples of a card where the price is currently going through one of those big spikes, right? One of those big upswings that we've been talking about. But then we're also going to see 2 cards that are on the other side of that price swing. 2 cards that are kind of working their way down after that big spike. So I'm hoping that we get some really cool lessons. I'm hoping that we walk away with a few learnings. And at the end of the day, we're going to look at awesome cards with amazing artwork. So you can do far worse than spending a couple minutes on a Sunday doing that. So before we get into it, I got to do it. Listen, if you have fun, if you enjoy it, if you like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button or give us a thumbs up. I got a small channel here. We do a ton of work, and those 2 small things go a long way in helping me out. With that out of the way, you probably know the card that I'm talking about because I have been low-key obsessed with this card ever since it came out, and this is the Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. And you know my checklist. When I'm trying to figure out a card that I'm trying to say, hey, listen, what's the long-term value of this going to be? Like, I'm looking for a card like Magikarp, right? I mean, Magikarp has some incredibly expensive cards, obviously an early-gen Pokemon, and then you combine it with the fact that the artwork of this card is just absolutely nuts and insane. I love how the red, the yellow, the blue pops off against the black background, right? You got a Gyarados hiding in there. Like, there's everything to love about the artwork here. And then Paldea Evolved as a whole, and especially this card, has an abysmal gem rate. Now, there's pros and cons to that. I get it. Nobody loves ripping a pack, finding your favorite chase card in there, and it's got 80-20 centering left to right. Like, that just sucks. But we can't control that, right? That's a Pokemon Company International thing. We can't control that. It is what it is, and it's a fact that plays into the value of this card in the long run. So you've got low gem rate, you've got an awesome Pokemon, you have amazing artwork, and that just makes me love everything about this card. And when you look at how the prices performed on this 3-month graph right here, you'll see that the sales volume has been relatively consistent. Now, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, you see it's starting to tick up a little bit, but the sales volume has been relatively consistent, and the price growth has been relatively steady. You don't see that big spike. You don't see, any large irregularities. You see a couple weeks where the sales volume was a little bit higher than others, but nothing too crazy. And when I'm thinking about, steady Eddie, long-term growth, this is what I'm looking for. When I think about a card that if the market downturns a little bit, that will be able to retain some of its value, this is the type of thing I'm thinking about. So I'm incredibly excited that this card was so popular on TCGPlayer that they added it to the list this week. I think it's incredible. I think it's awesome. And I'm pumped to talk about it. Now, the next card that we're looking at I love Slowpoke. Like, I think Slowpoke's an awesome Pokemon. Tons of fun, and I really do like the artwork on this. Like, some people might say it's a little too brown or it's a little too washed out, but, you know, I really like the artwork on it. But when you look at the price graph here, you know, you see things perform a little bit differently than the previous card that we looked at. Now, you do see the sales volume, those blue bar graphs that go up and down. You see that it has been increasing steadily over the last month maybe, and then the price has gone up as well. But you see also on the backhand side, if you look in the very far right of that price graph, that is where you have one of the shortest sales volume graphs right there, right? And then you see the price is still high. So that tells me that even with a lower sales volume, the market is supporting this card at the $42 mark. Now, again, as I said, and I'm not going to beat the dead horse, who knows what this card is going to do in the long run? We know that base sets as a whole don't traditionally hold a ton of value. But again, I don't think we've ever been in a space where base sets have been sold out this early into their lifespan, right? Like, normally base sets aren't super desirable, so you can find booster boxes for quite a while. But right now, I mean, you can't find Scarlet and Violet base set really anywhere. So this card's at $42, might be setting a new floor, might be destined for a crash. We'll just have to wait and see, but it is going to be a ton of fun for us to watch in the months ahead. Now, the next card, as I said, I love Paldea Evolved, one of my favorite sets. I've been buying booster boxes. I've never quite been able to buy a whole case. I've never had that much cash on hand, but I've been buying a booster box here and a booster box there because I've been a long-term believer in Paldea Evolved and its long-term opportunity. But here's another card where you have stunning artwork. Like this, the way the colors pop, the way it's kind of psychedelic, like everything about this card is awesome. But then when you get to Baxcalibur at the very top, you know, we know, and it's nothing against Baxcalibur, like that's not a 10, not a top 20, you know, Pokemon in terms of popularity, but the artwork and the set, I think, is really what's helped propel this card. However, you see that the big price spike came in correspondence to a big sales spike as well, right? Like the largest light blue bar goes up to almost 70 on the week where we saw the largest price spike. That could be a person or a group of persons who's buying it out on TCGPlayer, and then you see subsequently the sales volume drops and the price is coming down with it as well. Now, again, I love this card. I don't $50 love it. I don't $47 love it. But it will be interesting to see like how the rarity and how the demand versus the supply in combination with an awesome set, in combination with awesome art, and how that's going to play on price long into the future. So super cool card. Love to see it on this list. And we'll just have to wait and see. Now the next card is another one where this was a $3 card. And if you see the price graph, I mean, that was a dead flat $3. There was no spikes up, no spikes down. Sales volume was just about the same. I mean, we're talking a steady Eddie card right here. Iron Moth was just cruising along, living its best life at $3. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see this huge purchase volume go up through the roof. And then, of course, the price spikes after that. But what's interesting to me is you see that even after the big sales volume increase, again, you have those next two light blue bar graphs where the sales volume is down, but the price is continuing to go up. Now, I like big sets. I look at the big Pokemon and then I look for artwork and then I wonder what set it comes out of. I mean, think about Evolving Skies. I mean, Evolving Skies, almost every card in that set is absolutely crushing it. Obviously, it's hard to compare anything to that being an evolution set, but still, I want big name sets because I think it gives longevity to these cards. And Paradox Rift, if I were to stack rank all of the big sets in Scarlet and Violet, Paradox Rift just wouldn't be in the top, right? It's nothing against it, but Scarlet and Violet has some fire sets. So you got Iron Moth, you got it coming from a set that I don't consider a top 5 or 6 set in the Scarlet and Violet era. You have this incredible price spike where it's up 370% over the last couple weeks. You know, it's just got me scratching my head a little bit. Like, where is this going to end, or where is this going to settle? And only time will tell. So it's going to be cool to watch this and see how it kind of all evolves over time. And the next one right here, and the final one on the list, is the other example that I told you we were going to look at, where you see this price spike and then it comes back down. Now, the volume on this one and the price on this one looks eerily similar to that Iron Moth, right? You see that the price is stuck at that $5.50 range pretty much for all of the last 3 months. And then it goes through the exact same behavior that we just saw with the Iron Moth, where you have that huge volume of increase. Then you see the price spike up. However, the difference is on the backhand side, where we saw the Iron Moth card continuing to go up, this one's actually starting to come down a little bit in price. But still, even with the price coming down, it's up 475%. And I mean, again, look at the artwork here. You got the Pokeballs chilling. It looks like it was drawn with a crayon, super psychedelic. Like, I legit just want to put a black light to this card because I think it would just be so cool if it was able to light up, at night or something like that. It's just an incredible piece of artwork. But again, is Brute Bonnet going to be in high demand 10, 15 years from now? We're just going to have to wait and see. It's going to be be a hard thing to guess, and the market is super frothy, so is it going to come back down? Paradox Rift, a decent set, but again, I don't think it's going to end up in the top third of all of Scarlet and Violet sets. It might even end up in the bottom third. We're just going to have to wait and see what the rest of year 3 looks at, but these are what we're dealing with in the market right now. Now, as I said, every month I do a video on the top 5 things that I'm investing in, and I have that video which is coming out here soon. And you're going to be interested in it because I'm taking a little more of a defensive approach. Now, just because the market is frothy doesn't mean I'm not investing. I'm always investing. I'm always spending money on Pokemon cards. But what I do is I look for value in the market. I look for, okay, everybody's all in on these illustration rares in the Scarlet and Violet era. What's great that people aren't looking at? If everybody's looking left, how can I look right and find some opportunity? So that's what my video is going to be focused on. I think there's some awesome stuff out there, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I hope you had a ton of fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you made it to the end and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and have an epic rest of your Sunday. All right, thanks everybody. See you. Bye.